Texting is an easy, efficient way to communicate. However, that may not always be a good thing. Personally, I had a traumatic event communicated to me through texting. On August 1st, 2015, my life was about to drastically change. Nothing could have prepared me for the text I was about to receive. On a warm, sunny day, my heart was flooded with sadness as I read about the passing of my best friend. Hearing such sensitive news is already a horrible and traumatic experience, and finding out via this method certainly was not ideal. When I grasped what had truly happened, I slowly sank to the ground, overcome with grief. Finding out through text made me feel even worse about the whole situation. At first, when I received the news, I genuinely thought it was a joke because I didn't think anyone would share such sensitive information like this via text message. Although texting can be an easy, quick way to communicate with everyone, it is starting to be used in inappropriate situations. As people begin to use text messaging as their only form of communication, many problems can definitely start to arise. Certain news is too sensitive to send through text. For me, I see texting as a less personal or meaningful form of communication. So when someone shares sensitive or important information through text, it seems less urgent than if they would have called or told me in person. Texting was originally meant to quickly communicate, but now many people are using it as their sole form of communication, of talking and sharing news as well. As texting becomes more frequent occurrence, the information we are sending seems less important. This is starting to become problematic, especially for younger generations. I use texting every day to communicate with my family, friends, and peers. However, it is not my only form of communication. People are starting to use texting as their sole form of communication, which can be problematic for several reasons. A couple examples are misunderstood information or sensitive information. Although these problems have developed, it has not stopped texting from becoming a huge part of our society, especially in the last 10 years. Two professors by the name of Jeffrey Hall and Nancy Baim, both of whom are associate professors of communication studies at the University of Kansas, explain how texting has evolved throughout the years. They explain that mobile phones have become useful relational maintenance devices for vast segments of the global population. By 2010, there will be 5 billion mobile connections worldwide. They go on to say that the more texting is used to maintain a close friendship, it is beginning to be expected that texting is the only form of communication to keep a close friendship. An expert by the name of Sherry Turkle, a social science and technology professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, explains her take on texting and the way people communicate. She explains that over the past 15 years, I've studied technologies of mobile communications, and I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people, young and old, about their plugged-in lives. And what I found is that our little devices, those little devices in our pockets, are so psychologically powerful that they don't only change what we do, they change who we are. Some of the things we do now with our devices are things that only a few years ago we would have found odd or disturbing, but they've quickly come to seem familiar on just how we do things. As the years go on, I personally am seeing this trend more and more. A statistics by Statista, a statistics portal, predicts that by the year 2020, there will be over 8.4 billion mobile connections. These numbers can be rather frightening when I start to think about how many people will have mobile connections in the years to come. A man by the name of Tupper Hilliard, a vice president of national communications with Seagull Consulting, explains in an article titled "The Rise of the Mobile Devices" how People would rather get all their information through text messaging. He goes on to say that what's changed is that almost everyone is connected using state-of-the-art communications technology. Smartphones have a major impact on every aspect of our lives, in our homes, on the road, and at work. The average person spends 177 minutes a day browsing, shopping, or interacting on a mobile device. And 1 in 5 workers telecommutes. I personally can relate to this because I know I spend that amount of time on my phone each day, if not more. I have found that more and more people are taking advantage of texting, and that is causing issues in the ways that humans interact with one another. On the other hand, many would argue that texting is not to blame for ruining the way humans communicate, but rather that it has improved our society. A British author by the name of David Crystal explains different research he found while studying the texting habits of teens. In his book, Texting the Great Debate, he argues that although texting has changed the way people communicate, especially teens, that it is not problematic. He goes on to say that, for one thing is certain, texting is not going to go away in the foreseeable future. This has been proven true with what I had talked about in my previous slide. I believe the ease of texting is why it has dominated our society. I have been in many situations where I needed to get a hold of a loved one to let them know something somewhat important and was not able to talk on the phone. And that is just one of the reasons that texting is so convenient. Overall, I believe texting can be very beneficial to anyone that has a cell phone. It is easy to see that although there are many issues, it is not going to go away anytime soon. The research indicates that the key is to simply make sure it is not your sole form of communication. There's a certain time and place for texting, and knowing when it's appropriate and inappropriate. Before sending a text to someone, simply think to yourself if the information should be shared over texting or in person. Thank you.